All right, let's continue here. This is a bit later at night, so I won't be on too long tonight, but that's all right. Instead of coffee, I am going to finish off my coffee stout. For what it's worth, so we'll see how that goes with me still a bit inebriated here, and that's always fun, but I wanted to do a couple quick bug fixes before I got into maybe like a rename file command or generalizing the file stuff. So I went ahead and saved the separate text file. I don't remember if it's still saved. It is. So let's, we can delete that. You see it's a G. I'm just gonna delete that first though. So I was testing. Okay, I thought we had delete file working. I guess it doesn't if it's beyond something. That's, I guess if it's the last thing in the file table, delete doesn't work. So that is a bug. I'll have to put that down for later. So that's always good. Okay, it's not there. So we just make a new file. It's other, it's a text file. I'll just do testing, save it as testing file or whatever it is. So testing FI, that's fine. So it goes to sector G. So we're not really, when we print out the file table, this is still working. So it's 9 plus 7 is 16. Except instead of F, we're doing G because our hex to ASCII is not really, you know, we don't have validity or extra error checking in there to see if it's beyond 15. So it says 16, it converts it to a letter, it's G. That's why it's G. 15, it would be F. It does save correctly if we go to the editor and we load our testing FI here, testing. I still do have to fix that space at the front. Maybe we'll do that on this, maybe not. But that's all there. I wanted to fix that right quick. It says a G, so I wanted to change how we print the file table. So we go to include print. We see down here where we print, we are going to the starting sector. So we're just doing hex to ASCII. This only does one character at a time when it prints all these out. We're expecting a maximum of FF, but as far as the digit on the screen that we see, or the letter, we see G, you know, anything above 10 is going to be a letter here. It's in AL, it's only one character long. What we want to see is 16, or in hexadecimal, for this example 16, in hexadecimal that'd be 10, it'll be 10. Be 10 decimal, but hexadecimal 16 is 10, so we need 2 characters there. Instead of worrying about splitting off the digits and printing one and then printing the other, I think I'm just going to move into DX and call print hex that function instead of hex to ASCII. So this will be 4 hex digits like how the print registers looks. The one word value. So I'm just going to change all these to that and then try to fix printing. Yeah, we'll go into Shift R DX and we'll call print hex. I don't know if this will work by default. We'll find out. Maybe this will just break everything. It probably will break everything, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. File size, we'll do the same. DX, then print hex. So this is called from the kernel. So does that break anything? Doesn't look like it. Okay. So it does this, which is not really what I wanted. Definitely not what I wanted. Probably because we're moving 2 into 1. So these are correct. These are not. 15117. Actually, I think that part is correct, but these are not. So we're not clearing the right part of DX, I guess. And the size is okay, but bad over there. All right. Well, that's interesting. I think that makes sense. We're filling in only 1 character when we actually do it. It's only 1 byte in the file table. DX is 2 bytes. So we're kind of getting the next one in there as well. The previous one for the entry number is 0, and then the starting sector, I think, is this. So it's getting put into the top because we're taking 2 bytes at once. And then we're getting the size and sectors on the end here, and then we just got a bunch of bad stuff. All right. We just got a bunch of bad stuff we need to fix. That is okay. We're doing this here. We need to move. We'll just move it into DL. Let's just do that. Move it into DL, call print hex, but we do need to clear out DX first, I believe. So let's we can do that here. That's fine. We'll just do it here. And we'll move that into DL. We can move that into DL. We can move that into DL. So DH should be 0 in all of these, hopefully. We'll see, of course. I'm assuming they'd be 0. Yep, that's correct. Okay, that is now correct. We do have to change the spacing. That's all right. And 15117, that should be correct. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 5 is 7, 1 is 8, 1 is 9. Yep. Okay, so those are good. Create a new file. Again, testing, that's fine. Testing 1 or testing file. Testing 9, it doesn't really matter. Okay, it goes to 10. So in decimal, this looks kind of weird, right? But in hexadecimal, it makes sense. 9 plus 7 is 16. In hexadecimal, 16 is 10. So that is correct. If we make another new file, call it testing dos or testing 2 for those that don't speak Spanish, which I don't. Dos testos or dos testo. All right. It goes to 11. Okay. That all looks correct. Let's see if we can delete one of these now. It looked like it errored when we deleted the last thing in the file table. But if we delete something in the middle, like say testing 09 that we put in, or that I put in, that doesn't work either. Okay, so I got to look at why that is. So delete file is not working anymore. I got to figure out why that is. But until we do, we're making things in hexadecimal now. So let me fix the spacing on this right quick when we print the file table out. So starting sector entry number, I think looked fine. Starting sector needs to go down by like 6. It seemed like it was a bunch. Let's see what happens if we replace with 3 and then. So this is probably not going to look right at all. Okay, so that needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe like 7 more. Okay. Just needs to be 8. Well, let's do the ampersands. Everyone loves ampersands. There we go. Okay. So it's in hex. It's not in decimal, although below 10, they're the same. So this is still easy to read for these. So delete really doesn't work. Does delete work if I don't do any other files? If I do delete calculator, that works. If I make another thing and call it testing 1, 2, 3, that takes up a full 10 characters. It does correctly replace the free space, which was left from deleting. So that's nice. I'm glad that works by default. It is 1 sector. Okay. But if we try to delete that, it's 10 characters long, so it's not getting out. That worked. So let's do testing _1, which replaced it. I think it's the underscore. So why would an underscore break delete file? That is a good question. I am not sure why that would happen. Tokens, token file. Oh, it is. Okay. Yes. I understand. Let me get to the point in the code where we get the tokens before my brain fart overtakes my thoughts and I forget what I'm talking about. So here, getting a valid token, we are only taking 0 through 9 and A through Z, upper and lower case. We are not considering, and we're skipping over spaces, we are not considering underscore in any of this. So that is my issue. I need to add underscore as a valid character you can put in a name. Let me see where in the ASCII table an underscore is, because I don't remember off the top of my head because I'm a terrible person. So, you know what I could do is search the page here. There we go. Easy. 95. 95 or hex 5F. That is above Z. Okay, so that makes it a bit easy. That's below lowercase a, above uppercase C. Okay. It's below lowercase a. It's above here. So jump greater than, let's go check. Instead of lowercase, we'll go check underscore. Let's do that. I have no doubt that there's much better ways and more efficient ways of doing this than adding more code here, but you know, I had a beer, so lay off me, all right? So let's compare AL to underscore. We'll just do it down here. I was going to say we could probably put it up here somewhere instead of having a fully separate label and everything, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just do this. Jump less than next token. Jump greater than, because it goes between lowercase a and uppercase c. So if it's greater, we're going up here. If it's less than, it's, you know, we're invalid. Okay, otherwise it's going to be equal. Which case we want to add. So we'll do store. We'll do increment word bx. And we'll load the next one. And then we'll jump alpha num loop. Okay. Hopefully that's all we need to do. To add underscore support to that. That would be great, if so. I might have broken something else, of course, by doing that, but we'll find out whenever I find out in the future if it's broken. So let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing underscore 0, 1. Control R is what I meant. So we have that. So let's delete testing underscore 0, 1. Enter. That's good. It returned. And free space. There we go. That's all we had to do. Just include it in the list of valid tokens. Or valid characters for a token. So that's what we did. Okay. But that means we should be able to have a program with an underscore and also be able to run it, which would be nice. Or wait, do I have... I still have the free space. That's all right. We'll use that. We'll make a binary file. This would be B... I think this is 8. Hopefully, yeah. B8, 5, 4, 0E, CD, 10. Okay, so I just saved it. Testing 01. Let's try running it. It prints a T at the cursor, and then, yeah, it breaks some stuff, but that's okay. It prints a T at the cursor. So that does work. We can, you know, include underscores in our names now. That was very easy. Just include it at the token. So what was another thing I wanted to do? I think I saw something small the other day when I was looking at I was trying to review my code, look for small low-hanging fruit, you know. And I can only remember one right now off the top of my head, and that is down here where I'm just skipping spaces down here. So what I really wanted to do was more, instead of doing this, I can just offset from the beginning of the file name and not have to do this adding and all this other junk, I believe. But we'd have to reset bx at this point to the start of the file table entry, but I think it'll look a little cleaner if I do this, so. The next character should really just be next, it should be check next name, because we're adding 16 every time. This does go to the next character here in the loop. When we restart the search, if that wasn't the right name, we're popping the original. Oh, but then we're incrementing. Interesting. I don't think I want to increment. This code is not good. Let me just preface that. That code is not good. I want to somehow get a marker for the beginning of the file table entry, the beginning of the name, just to make this look a little bit better down here, because we shouldn't have to do this crap, right? We shouldn't really need to do all that. I guess that's what CX is. CX is the full length of the name here before we do all this, right? I do decrement it down here. It's 0, but CX is the length of the name. So I could push it, pop it down here, although I'd need another place to pop it, because I want the stack to be balanced always. What happens if we don't find it? Input not found. Okay. So we're going to pop this here. Okay. Because that is the only other case we have. So after we do this, nothing else calls check files, right? No. Okay. So I'm going to push CX here. Save length of token, file name. All right. And then when we get down here, I'm going to pop it. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract that from bx. which should hopefully get the start. Should is a great word because it means I'm not liable. That's why I use should. So I should get the start of file name, which is the file table, the start of the file table entry as well. Should get the start of both. Okay, so hopefully instead of skip spaces, we really can just move where the extension is, which the name is 0 through 9, so the extension should be at 10, 11, and 12. So ESBX plus 10 into AL, which moves into here. So let's see how that works. ESBX plus 10. Okay. Plus 11. And plus 12. And then instead of adding 4, this would be the starting sector. This will be 14. The file size should be 15. So plus 14. And this should be plus 15. So it might take up a couple more bytes here. That's all right. But I think we'll take up less bytes because we won't be doing this. So let's see. Let's just see if it works on the default case. Found but not loaded. I did spell that right. Let's make a... Actually, no, it should have found it and loaded it, so that's not good. Found but not loaded. All right. So what basic thing did I just mess up? I'm pushing BX here when we start compare. I'm only popping it here on restart. Is that the issue? Right, we're pushing when we start the comparison. If we find it, we go here. So I'm popping BX into CX. That's not good. Okay, that's one issue. But I think I'm gonna change this stuff. I don't like this push BX being here because it's just dirtying up the stack. It's ruining my day. Probably doesn't need to be there. I don't like this being there. So how do we fix that? I don't think I want to do increment though. We'll go to check next. We'll add 16. So SI is what they entered, right? But BX is where it's at. Can I change this to use DI? Would that be illegal? Am I using DI somewhere else? Not when I get to this point, I'm not. Let's try this with DI. Let's try it with DI. Let's switch some things up. Do it like we're doing in our file stuff here. DI 0, that's fine. Otherwise, let's add. I'm just breaking everything. I'm sure this will break everything. So that's all I'm doing here. Just breaking everything. Instead of doing this, we'll repeat compare. If it's equal, we found the file. Well, let's do. Okay, if it's not equal, we'll restart the search. That's fine. We'll do it like that. Don't need that in this case. Jump equal found program, otherwise it's going down here. Which moves it. This will be DI. Add jump check next. Check next character I'm gonna call check next name. Because it really is each name. It's not the next character anymore after we do this. Okay. So that's simpler. So found, we want to pop DI because we just did that. Right now we'll pop CX, that's fine. This doesn't look at the start. It's DI at this point, so this needs to be DI. DI. That's just debugging the extension. This would be DI. So we don't use DI with these, so that should be okay. Should be okay. I don't know if it will be, but I don't know. I messed that up. Check next character is not right. That is true. Alright, this needs to be name. Okay. There we go. Alright, so can I still load stuff? Bin. Oh, looky there. That was correct. That's the correct extension. So, listen, we ended up making it simpler. Okay, it doesn't look like it. That's alright. I'm going to take out the debugging text here. Alright, and then we'll try it out. As I'm fat fingering everything. And it loads. Okay, that's good. So we'll make another test file. Testing 1. So it's there. Let's just delete it to make sure that still works. Okay, deletions work. And we can call the editor. So that all stuff works. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's get rid of our comments then. Yeah, let's get rid of the comments. Because they don't need to be there anymore. I made them not needed. So we simplified this stuff. That is great. That is always good. Get rid of that. Okay. Store lengths. We don't really need to do the length here then. Either. That's kind of useless. So that's good. Get rid of more lines of code. That's always nice. This stuff we don't need. This we don't need. Or that. Look, it looks simpler, I swear. It does look simpler. That comment is no longer applicable. That is here. Okay. Simplified it a little bit. We're still down 514 lines. That's a pretty small kernel. That's pretty good. We don't have a compare loop anymore. Compare compare loop. Nope. So let's get rid of that. Just gonna check one more time. It does load that. Create whatever random name we want to do. That's not going to run. Well, it should print it to screen, right? 101N. Yeah, it'll print it to screen. Just got to test everything out a little bit. All right, we got free space. So that's good. Our stuff's working. Okay. So I guess I can get to what I actually wanted to do, which is making a rename command, a rename file command rather, right? Let's set up the skeleton of that. So once again, I do want to make a help command that just lists all these probably from a file. I'm not doing that right now. So I'm going to call it ren file db. This will be ren 0 rename a file in the file table. So hopefully this is a bit simpler. It should be simpler, at least conceptually, than delete file or loading or saving a file. But it'll be kind of similar to those functions in that it will search for the file in the file table. If it finds it, it's just going to rename the first 10 bytes, right? And then pad with spaces if it's less than 10. But we have renames. Let's go, yep, like this. We'll just do this, copy all that, put it there, put her there, pal. This will be rename file, up to rename file. Let's go down to All right, like delete file. Okay, I am pushing them on the stack. This should not be a to-do item. We're not checking the return code for errors. That is true. We are cleaning up after the call. Okay, so I'm going to copy all of this and then just change what we need to do. Copy all that. Let's put another line here. Let's put that there. Rename a file in the file table. So length, we don't really care. I don't think we need to worry about the length, but I could pass it in. Well, we can get rid of it later if we need to. So file name to rename. Actually, I don't think we'll need a name, but we will need the name we want to rename it to. So yeah, that makes more sense. File to rename and then put new name. New file name. Yeah, that's English. That works better. Yes, rename file name, new file name. This will be our first 3-token shell command. So that's interesting. We can see if it doesn't work at all, which it probably won't by default with 3 tokens. Don't need to do that. Do call rename file. Select be 6. So I also want to push, so I'm not doing this right now, obviously, but we'll want a new file name to rename it to. Let's redo this one. Well, just do 2yy. So file name, this will be new. Will be the 3rd token. 3, no, it's a 4. Oh, there we go. 3rd token in array. So we'll add 20, so 0 offset 10 would be the 2nd token, 0 offset 20 plus 20 for the 3rd token. Well, this is pushed on the stack. Okay. But this does not push anything on the stack. Repeat move here would not push on the stack. So we should be able to do this and then reuse this. I want to reuse this. So I think that that would be okay. Move token name, move CX word. I think word overwrites CH, so I don't need to do that. +2, this will be +4 because they're both words. And we'll do the same. I think that'll work. The stack should have the first file name and the 2nd file name after this. Should. I'm just getting the 2nd one after that. Okay, and then we'll call rename file, and then it's 6. Well, this should only be... I'm hoping we don't need to pass the length. I can add it later if we do. I know I said we can remove it later, but now I'm saying we can add it later. So, if we do. But right now we're only pushing 2 words. That's 4 bytes. So clean up stack 4 bytes. Okay. So that's REN file. So we're assuming we have a thing called rename file. Let's go ahead and I don't have to touch it first, but I'm going to do that because it sounds weird. So let's do that. Would it be in disk? Well, I think actually I can do vim instead of touching it. That just sounds weird when I say it, so I want to stop saying that. Touching the file. Rename file, INC. Okay, yeah, it's new. That's fine. Rename a file in the file table. You know, I don't have enough excitement in my life. We'll do 2 exclamations because I don't show enough emotion normally. That's okay. Parms. All right, input 1. This be file name. Input 2, new file name. Rename file. So I want to make this rename file command, and then afterwards I want to take all of our underscore file, include files, so rename file, delete file, save and load file. I want to put those all into one overall, I think into one overall file, include, whatever. Like C has standard IO header. I want to do like one overall file operations, include file, or like header, whatever you want to think of it as. Try to abstract it, because we're going to have a bunch of duplicate code in all these. You know, case in point, I have to suffix things or prefix them. So here we have delete, del prefix on things, or we have delete as a suffix on things, which is, you know, haha funny. It's also really bad code. I don't want to do that. It's not really funny. I don't know why I said that, but we don't really want to do that. It'd be better to abstract and just have one overall sort of subroutine with a label for like finding the file name. So just have this only occur in like one place. If we found the file name, cool. If we didn't, we'll send back an error, right? I just think maybe it'll look neater if we can kind of try to get this stuff into one overall file. So I'm going to try for that. But first, before that, talking too much, I want to do the rename file. Hopefully get it working. We'll see. We might not. I don't know. I do have to go to bed, like I said. So I might do that. It doesn't really matter. Let's do BX and like DX or something. I don't know. We'll just do those. That's fine. So we're saving them off and we'll restore it. DX was first here. Yeah. So BP plus 4. This will be file name. BP plus 6, the new file name. All right, let's do, we'll do to do. Put the original, I'll put OG, put the OG file name into variable. To do, put the new G file name. I don't think they call new Gs. OG is original gangsta, but I don't know what new G would be. I don't think that exists. So put the new G file name into variable if we want to. Question mark means I'm not sure. So search file table for file name, found, replace with new file name, and write changed file table to disk. We'll do rename. REN return, or return to caller. It's 2. We'll say this is a normal thing here. Normal return, success. Put error code here. Okay. So in this we're popping BX because we pushed it second. On this one we pushed DX second, so we want to pop DX first, then BX. Move SPBP, pop BP, and return. Okay. So I'm just setting this up because I need to go to bed. So I'm not doing this right now. I will do this when I get back to this. Hopefully it's tomorrow. Until then, hopefully the couple small bug fixes and slight simplification in the kernel was good. I'll be back. Thanks for watching so far. Appreciate it. All right, let's continue on our way here with the rename file. I got my coffee, so I think I'm good to go. So we have a rename file here set up, the skeleton. I'm going to put in, variables. I'll make the thing. It'll be similar to delete file and the other things before I proceed to try and abstract them into a single file. But before that, we'll just set this up and try to get it to work first, probably badly. But let's see, we'll do rename file name. Yeah, maximum length it's going to be is 10. So we'll have rename file name. I'll do new file name as well. It'll also be 10, which is fine. And we'll figure out the other stuff as we go. So let's put this into a variable. So this is in dx. Let's move it to si. And we'll move di, rename file name. If I can type, which I can't, as everyone knows. All right, CX, well, CX will be up to 10. Although we're pushing, what are we pushing? Token file name, which I think is defined as 10 inside the kernel. Let's just see. I don't want to speak out of place here. That's times 10, so it'll copy nulls or spaces or whatever. That's all right. Although it would be helpful to pass the length. Let's see how much it breaks if we don't pass the length, and I'll probably end up adding it anyway, which is all right. That's second buffer. Let's just try 10 starting off. If it breaks, we'll change it. Move SI to DI, okay, that should be all right. All right. With the new thing, we're gonna do the same thing. Just putting it down here. This will be BX. This will be a new file name. Move it 10, repeat. So hopefully that all works. Just the same thing. So we want to search for the new name. That is true. How do we want to search for it? Well, by copy and code, of course. Probably do want to reset the address there. By moving it to rename file name. Okay. Let's just copy this crap here, compare, delete, found. Let's, we'll do down to there. Okay. XOR 01000 is the location of the file table. Yes, check file name. This will be rename. Same as there. Except this will be rename. And compare will be rename. And this will be REN. And this will be rename. This is why it's annoying and I want to redo it, right? Because all this crap. Okay. And we got the error code, so I'll take that out. So assuming we found the file, replace the new file name with the changed one and write the changed file table to disk. So di at this point is pointing to the start, right? Should be pointing to the start of the name, start of the file table entry. So we should just have to move it back and then move the new one in place. So let's move SI to rename new file name. Is that what I named that? Yeah. Okay. Except get rid of the hyphen there. All right, and then we can move CX10 again and repeat, move string byte, move SI into DI, just replacing the file name stuff. Okay, then we have to write the file name to disk. So I don't know if I have to reset. I guess I can do it. That's fine. I don't think we need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's probably good practice, right? Maybe not. I don't know. AX and DL, not DX. 13H. Starting sector, file size. Those are all going to be the same. We're just changing the names. So we want to write the change thing to disk. Okay, let's do that. Write changed file table data to disk. Replace with new file name. Just get rid of these. Okay, actually I can probably copy this stuff. Of course, jump not carry would be an error in this case, but that's all right. All right, if it's not a carry, we will go to return to caller. Success, otherwise, this is going to be an error. Okay, let's start out. I didn't want to do whatever I just did. Okay, let's start out doing this. Just preemptively, we'll assume it's successful, unless we have jump not carry. Init return code to success. Let's do that. 3 writes the sectors, we're writing 1. Okay, well that should be good. I think that's all we need to do. That should be all right. The coffee is pumpkin spice today. Not that anybody cared, but it's the fall. I gotta get my inner white girl out. It's pumpkin spice, so just letting you know. It's actually pretty good. So what failed? Undefined symbol because we didn't include it in the kernel. Yes, of course. I realized that as soon as I probably should have. So we'll do this. This will be rename file. All right, and when we go to rename file, just to remind myself, tokens, passing the first one, passing the second one. Okay, this is the first 3 token command we're doing, but that should be all right. That's why we have arrays for these things. Hopefully it works all right. So let's see what happens. What happens is that it doesn't work, of course. Rename file name, length, yes. I could compare it to 10, but that would be lame. It would be better probably to pass the length, wouldn't it? I guess we can do that as input too. This is probably a bad way to do this anyway, but that's okay. We'll just add it in because that's how we're used to finding files. We can add it in, that's fine. I'll say that is that. So dx, let's say it is bx, dx. Let's do cx for the middle one. So it will be p plus 6. This will be file name length. Didn't want to do visual mode. There, this will be 8. Okay, let's move the length into a variable. Gotta do it before we mess with cx, because we're doing it there. Okay. Guess we'll make it a word. Doesn't really matter, we'll make it a word though. Would be safer. Didn't I call it rename file name length? Is that what I called it? Rename file name length, yes. And it's a word, okay. All right, put CX into there because we're messing with CX here. So we're just doing that first, all right. And now I'll have to pop CX as well down here, make sure it's okay. Okay. We don't have to move CX for that. This one we might have to. I don't know if we need to pad it out with spaces. That would probably be safe. I don't know what it is. It's BX. But it's not padded out when we pass it in. We might want to pass the length of the new file name as well. This is getting to be annoying. That's okay though. That is okay. Input 4. It's just, you know, over engineering, always good. That's all right. So file name, its length, the new one What's a register we haven't used? AX? It doesn't really matter here. I mean, it does, but... File name length, okay. AX is last. So it would be first. Although we're moving that into AX. Okay, let's not do AX. A, B, C, D. What else do we have? SI, DI? That's very annoying though. That's okay. Let's do... Well, we're moving SI down here. Let's do SI. We'll put new length into here. Longest variable names known to man. That's what you came here for. That's your good content. We pushed SI last, so it would be SI, DX, CX, and BX. Yeah, just making sure the pop order is right here. That is right. Okay. The original will already be CX. But I can move it here just to make sure. If I can spell new right, there we go. New file name, okay. Let's move the new file name length into here. We probably do want to pad it out with spaces though, if it's not 10. When we save it to the disk. So how do we pad it out? Well, we could. Actually, we could do 10 by default. Define it as 10 spaces instead. Why don't we do that? Then we don't need this. Let me just change it all up now that I just did that. We don't need a new length. Sorry, I do want to do this. If we just set it by default to be 10, but we made it all spaces, it should fill in up to, you know, if we made sure to pass it up to 10. If it's less than 10, it should still be filled out with spaces from here. It's new file name. So that should be okay. Filling out 10 here. If it's less, it should pad it out with spaces by default because it'll automatically be that length of spaces. Okay. 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 Okay, I need the length second. It should be this. We'll just do that. Length of name to rename 3 will be the new file name. Okay. So this will be input 1. I mean, they're parms. I could do input parm 1. That's fine though. Input 1, input 2. New file name, input 3. This will be 6. Okay. Probably messed something else up, right? Yes. New file name length doesn't exist. So if I don't want the length, I guess if they were all zeros, it would be if it's not a 0, right? Right. I don't think I can do this though. Jump not 0 reset. Otherwise. Otherwise move. So move it until you reach a null. And it should be null. Even if it goes up to 10 times, we'll move it in. Nope. Oh, operating size not specified. Ah, that's not too bad. We're moving a byte at a time though. This needs to be byte. Okay. Okay, that, you know, assembled. That doesn't mean it'll work, but it assembled. So rename. So ideally, you want to be able to rename these like REN calculator to not used. It's not being used right now. So what happens if we do that? That still says calculator, so something went wrong or didn't work there. Okay. I don't need to do that anymore. Oh, this needs to be jump equal reset, doesn't it? Yes. There we go. Otherwise move and jump. I don't know if that would be the issue, but that is an issue. So if we do rename editor edit, it's still editor. Well, that doesn't work. Okay. Let's see what happens if we assume we found it. So under here, let's just do... Well, I have it here actually. It's right there. Let's call print string here. And then halt. Just want to see what happens. Should print edits, not editor. Okay, well that could be an issue. Since it grows downward, the top one would be old. Oh, yes. I keep forgetting the stat grows down. It's still messing with me. Okay. The last thing we pushed is the earliest thing on the stack from the offset. So the lowest offset here would be the new file name. The length is fine. The old one would be at 8. New into DX. DX is new. So OG would be BX. This is DX. But we did not get that. Let's see what happens here. Rename file name. Let's call print string. And let's move to... I think because I'm not ending it with a null, print isn't working. I'm not ending the new file name with a null. I'm comparing it to a null. But I'm not moving that into it, right? So let's do that. Although I don't think that would be good because when we move it into the file table, it does need to be spaced. It does need to have all the spaces. So I don't think that would be good. Dang it. Let's just pass the length of the second one. I'm dealing with this too much. So this is in the kernel. Let's just push it. That's fine. We'll just do that. That's fine. That's fine. New file name, length, push SI. So this will be the length. Want that to be in SI, I guess. I don't know. This will be new file name. Nope. This will be file name length. For this we want to be DX. And it'll have the length. And then old file name. It'll be CX. Okay. So we will end up doing that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making things worse. I just want them to work. Obviously that's not working. That's okay. So SI, DX, CX, BX. Yep. Okay. I guess we can check if this works though. Copy that, put it there. This will be new, this will be 0. We'll make this 0 again. I wanted it to be different, that's okay. This will be 0. We don't need the reset label though. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's move space to AL. Let's just store 10 spaces there to overwrite the name, and then we'll move the new name on top of that. We'll overwrite the spaces with the new name. Let's do that. New, this will be okay. All right, except we'll subtract 10 to get back 10 less. Okay. Okay. Overwrite with spaces first. So just in case it's less than 10 long, it should be padded with spaces if we do this. Just write 10 spaces first and then the new name on top of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 words. All right, I doubt this will work, but let's see what happens. Editor and edit. Now that's a good sign. And it says edit. So, okay, well, okay. Just had to be super explicit with these things. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. So we have a rename file working. So that's always good. So let's make a new file. Testing. Let's save it as test 01. Space. We'll return. Oh, we don't have ls, we have dr. So we have test 01 here. So let's try and rename test 01. Let's rename test 01 to test 02. And that's still test 01. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to come back when I fix this because it could be a minute, but it could be an hour or two, so I don't want to have to edit down footage of me staring at a screen for an hour, so I'm going to come back when I find the issue, but thanks for watching so far. Okay, I fixed it. It was a pretty simple fix. Let me show that it's working first. I'll start from a clean slate, actually. I only had to change a couple small things, but let me just show you that I'm not lying out of my teeth just this instant, although normally I do. Let's rename calculator to calc. Okay, so it's now calc. Let's clear. Let's rename calc to testing. And let's rename, I don't know if this will work with the backspace, editor to test 12. It did, testing, test 12. So calc goes to testing, editors, test 12. And we can rename things again, test 12 to test 27, doesn't matter. Test 27, okay. So it does appear to be working now. That's all good. So what did I change? Is I made another variable. So I renamed token file name to 1, token file name 1. I added a second one, token file name 2. They're both 10 db0. And then under get input, I'm resetting those to 0 on every new line. So XOR AL move DI to the location. CX is 10, which is their length, and then store zeros at that location to reset. Right. All right, then in rename file, the first one I'm pushing is now token file name 1. Okay, and the second one is token file name 2. So I'm just renaming that. So before I was using token underscore file underscore name for both of these. Okay, so effectively on the second run through, I was kind of, well, I was resending, and even though I overwrote, that's what I did. I overwrote token file name with the second one we wanted to use, but I was still pushing the first one. So I was still pushing this, even though we overwrote it with the name we wanted to rename to, if that makes sense. So it would only work if the first however many letters was the exact same. So if I renamed editor to edit, that's only 4 letters long, it would edit is still part of editor, so it would find it and it would rename it correctly. But if they were different, it would not work. Because I was overriding the same memory location and I was pushing the same memory location. So that's why it was not working before. So hopefully that makes sense. I just separated out into 2 separate variables and separate lengths. We can still push the length, that's fine. So rename works, reasonably well. Hopefully that did make sense. Okay, recording and stuff's good. All right, so I do want to combine the file stuff into one overall file. I guess I can try to do that and then make sure things don't break. So let's assume we want to have save and load all within one file and other things. So I'll preemptively put it here. It'll be like, I'll just call it file operations. So that's long. So I'll call it file ops, I guess. This won't be true, so we'll get rid of that to prevent any errors. So we have these 4 files under disk. I kind of want to put these all into one file, even though that'll just make disk and then file ops. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of duplicated code. It's rubbing me the wrong way. And before I move on, I want to change it because it's annoying me. So yeah. So I have these 4 here. So I don't think I can cat everything into one, can I? Can I cat everything into an overall, like, oh, we can try to. Can I do that? File ops.inc. So I have delete, load, rename, save. So what happens if I look at file ops? Delete is first. Okay, and then load. And then rename. And then save. So without further ado, without changing anything else, I want to see if stuff still works in the kernel and the editor where these file things are being used so far. I want to see if it works with this overall file ops.include file. So the only other place was we use save and load inside the editor, so I want to change it in here as well. So include disk file ops.inc. So does that break? Yes, immediately. Invalid value in the editor. So the editor is too short. And the kernel is also too short. Okay. So we will have to change these 2 things. Awesome. I believe. That's what it looked like at least. So the editor will be plus 512, maybe more. This would be what? 512, so it would be 4,000. I should have these numbers memorized. That's very common. 4K. Should definitely have these memorized. But I don't. This is now 3072. Okay, which means we have to change the file table as well, but not do that. Instead of 5, this one is 6. In the editor, is 4K, so it is 8. 8 sectors long. All right, so 6 would start at 8. This would be 9. This one will be 10. Ooh. Okay, so file table is at 8, so everywhere I reference that, in those files, it'll be 8, so where am I referencing? 7, here we go. This will now be 8. 07, press enter so it saves. Okay, 8, 8, 8. So I got rid of the individual files being coded in, but I included the other ones. And directory immediately breaks because I didn't do print file table. Characters shouldn't matter. Registers shouldn't matter either, and strings shouldn't, so file table. Sector number 8. That's why I always check that first. All right. Yep. So now it's 6. And this is now 8. Okay. That looks all right. So delete should work if we want to delete calculator and it's free space. That's good. It found it. Interestingly, I should be able to rename free. Well, no, I won't be able to because it's a space. Never mind. I can't rename free space with how my stuff is currently laid out, and that's all right. So delete works. Let's see if we can rename editor to edit. Okay, that did work. So rename and delete works. Now we have to see if save and load works. So let's run edit. Okay, that did not. So if we rename the editor and we try to run the editor, it doesn't work. That's a good bug. I like that. That's always nice. Just make it again to have that not happen. Oh no, editor doesn't work at all right now. Oh, that's great. Oh, you figure things like this will happen. So what are we doing when we find a program? Oh, we're not loading it, duh. Sorry. I have to change the boot sector. Because it's still pointing at 7. Yeah, I probably should just change it to put the file table before the kernel. Like I said I was going to do, and I haven't done so far. Kernel is also 6 sectors now. Yeah, that would make a load of difference, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would. Let's rename editor to edit, and then let's try to run edit. Oh, that doesn't work. Interesting. Let's see, calculator runs by default. Editor does not run by default. That's not great. 9.1, so it would start at 10. No, this would start at A. I'm thinking in decimal. Thinking in decimal. Hexadecimal 9 plus hexadecimal 1 is hexadecimal A. Not decimal 10. Hexadecimal 10, not decimal 10. Although that says A, which is correct. No, that's correct, yes. A through F is 10 to 15. That is correct. We renamed it to nothing. What does that look like? It just has nothing. What if we rename nothing to editor? These are just edge cases that you never know you're gonna have. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, let's not do that. Don't make something have nothing for a name. Until I fix that later. Just keep in mind. Let's rename to edit. Okay, it's edit. So let's try to run. Edit. Oh, look, it works. All right. Thought it would work. Oh, test file contents. Test file 0. Okay. A plus 8 is 12. Is that correct? A would be 10. So 12 and hexadecimal. A plus 8 would be 12 plus 8 decimal, which would be 20. 20 is hexadecimal 12. No, it would be 18. Sorry. 10 plus 8 is 18. 18 in hexadecimal is 1, 2. Because 16 is 1, 0 plus 2. Okay. That is correct. Sorry, I swear I know these things in my mind, but when I try to talk, I lose 20 IQ points instantly. I don't know if that's true for anyone else, but I sound so smart in my head, but I really, it is not smart when I, speak the words. Just, I sound stupid. That's okay. Let's go to edit. Let's load test and 6 zeros, test file contents. Okay. So it looks like we're okay so far after fixing that dilemma. So that just confirms what I wanted to confirm, was that stuff works if we just do that. So now we can work on changing this overall file ops file. Let's do that. So we have this. Let's remove, delete. Let's remove. This is very painful and very anxiety inducing. I recommend not doing this. Deleting everything that you've done. And let's remove rename file, because those are all included in our file ops.inc. So now let's see if it builds. Okay, still builds. We're good to go so far. All right, yes. Now we can work on trying to make this file more general, trying not to have all this duplicate stuff. It's really not too big of a deal, but it would be better instead of having like delete file name, rename file name, loading file name. If we just had like one overall file name variable, that would probably be better, I would assume. But we want kind of like global. To this file, these will be considered global. I guess in the kernel as well, because they're kind of copy pasted with the include directive, but I could change this later. Right now though, I'm going to call these global variables. And I'm just going to call this file name. Although in the editor, do we have, or in the kernel or editor, I don't know if I have those defined. If I have anything that's just regular file name, so that I can make things worse for myself later on because I forgot. And I'm not good at naming things. But who is? Nobody's good at naming things. This I called editor file name. Okay, so for now, it'll be file name. Okay. And file type and size. Okay. Maybe error code as well. But right now we got these things. So what's the first one we want to do? We'll say delete. So instead of delete file name, we'll go to file name. Do we have delete file? And we have file size. We don't have file name length. Let's make that. You define word 0. SI, we'll go to file name. I want to abstract the variables first a couple times, and then I want to abstract looking for the file name. This kind of code here is repeated in all of these. I want to abstract that maybe into its own file. I'm not sure. Maybe just a sub proc kind of thing, or another function within this file. We'll see. File size, I want to be like that. File name length. File name. I just want to get rid of these prefixes because we don't need them. You can have one variable space for all of it. We'll cut down on memory use if we do that. Oh, let's do 4x. Okay. Starting sector I'll save for now. I'll change that. So delete file name I don't want to use. Delete file size I don't want to use. So we have file name, file size. We don't need this either. So we have file name length. Delete return to caller. We might make a regular return to caller. File name loading. This will just be file name. If we're doing this. File type loading, no. We just want to use file type, so don't do that. I wanted to delete to the end of the word. There we go. File type. Not using that, not using that. So rename. We'll have new file name and new file name length. New file name length, if I can talk. I know I'm changing all these at once, which is not great. I should change one at a time and then check, but I'm not doing that. Which, you know. So I want 4x, get rid of that. And it reads a little bit easier as well. Get rid of that. Rename return to caller. Okay, rename file name, don't need. New file name, don't need. File name length, new file name length. We have all those here. Okay, so save file. File type, that's good. Get rid of that. Still have to do those to-dos in case there's a current file we're trying to save. We want to update it, not overwrite. I'm not doing that. We don't need that. We do have a type and a size. All right. That should be at least the variables kind of generalized a little bit. So let's see what happens. See if rename works. Editor to edit. That did work. We can run edit. Let's load. Load calculator. That seems to have worked. So loading works. Renaming works. Let's see if saving works. Let's just edit. Test file. Test file 12, okay. Loading, saving, rename. Let's test delete. So that looks good so far. So how can we generalize this more? Well, I think doing this check file name underscore delete, compare file name underscore delete, return to caller, blah, blah, blah. We can have one overall return to caller, I think would be better. Let's make an overall label called return to caller, which just returns. Before we move this back to the stack, we do want to do this. So let's put this in. Can probably do these things. We'll do a global return to caller. After this is kind of a bit worse, but oh well. I just want one exit point from this file instead of one in each individual like function, right? That's what I'm trying to aim for here. Let's call this, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the function epilogue, but I don't know if that's like too formal for this. I can name it that, function epilogue. Restore color stack value in registers, yep. Because each one will have different registers it has to pop back, but all of them should share the error return code. They should share restoring the stack and returning. Let's see where else we have return to caller. BP -2 and AX. We're doing that already. Not doing this, not doing these. Again, it's kind of the function epilogue. You know what I'm going to do is Let's do this. Just to have it saved in here. There we go. But up here we have return to caller. Where's that at? Here. No, that doesn't work with that, does it? Dang it. I might need separate ones for each. That's all right. Yeah, I'll have separate ones for each. But maybe I can even abstract this stuff out eventually. Return to caller loading. This will be load function epilogue. File type, that's fine. We do this. Rename. Instead of rename return to caller, it'll be rename function epilogue. Just has the epilogue. This, I'll call it save function epilogue. So it doesn't seem like it's saved. It might have saved a little bit of space. Probably doesn't seem like it. Oh well. I swear it probably did. But it gives a singular exit point for everything, which I think is good. I guess we'll see. Do this incrementally, right? See if anything broke. Just wanted to move this window. So rename works. No. I'm pressing Control L if you wonder why the female symbol keeps coming up. Because I'm pressing Control L like in, you know, Unix, Linux, but that doesn't clear the screen. I have clear S for that. Delete works, rename works, loading. Let's see if loading and saving works. Let's load. File table, that seems to work. Okay. Let's save. Test file yet? Okay, it saves. So that's good. Okay, well, what else do I want to do to this? The checking for file name, I want to probably make its own like separate little function. And then if it fails, we want to move an error into AX and then return. And if it doesn't fail, just return, I guess, yeah. So we have delete starting sector. I also have, do I have another one? No. The only time I have starting sector in this file. I just want regular starting sector. Okay, and I can also put that at the bottom. Just 1 byte? Okay. Get rid of that. And free space, we'll put that at the bottom as well. Just DD that, go to, put it there. Okay. Just getting rid of more lines of code, you know? Except for these local ones, but I can put those down here for global as well. Put it under there. It's not really a subroutine or sub-procedure. I'll put a subroutine though, might as well. But I'm gonna call it, we're gonna check for the file name that was passed and see if it's in the file table. So check for file name in file table, because this will be shared between all the functions in this file. It's kind of global in scope there, so I'm gonna call it check file name. And at the end, we're going to return. Let me make something for, well, I have error code. Oh, that's good. Where am I using that currently? Nowhere. Let's do that. If there's an error in here, I guess we'll check, we'll set error code to 1. So to start off, we'll init the error code. Zero. If there's an error anywhere, I guess we can check if this is not 0. And then we'll set, we'll put a 1 in place of BP minus 2, or we'll just move error code into there if we set it to 1. And then when it returns, we'll have the error code in AX. So that's what I want to do for errors with this, but that's it. Okay, well, let's try to abstract that out. So search, check for file name and file table, search for file table, that's fine. We move this, let's call check file name to check if it's in the file table. I could call it check for file name and file table, but that's a really long label name. I don't want to do that right now. Let's kind of put this down here though, init edit code. Okay. When this returns, let's compare word edit code with 0. So if it's equal to 0, we're good to go. So let's do jump equal. This will be found file. For this case, found file delete. Okay, otherwise it was not equal. I'm going to do this and then jump to our epilogue here. Delete function epilogue. Okay. Okay. This is redundant. I'm just putting it there anyway. If we're good, we go to delete. Otherwise, an error occurred. We go down here. Okay. So check file name, delete. Move ALESDI. So we're assuming that the file name is going to be an SI for this. So assume file name is an SI. Register. We'll do this. Move ALESDI. Actually, do next name here. Check next name. Okay. So check the letter at the file table, and then again, if it equals the file name that was passed to this, then we're good. We'll go to compare file names, delete. Compare file names. Otherwise, we'll compare AL to 0. If it was 0, we'll try for the next name. Otherwise, we are at the end of the file table. We'll do this, move 1. Well, we'll move it into the error code, yeah. Reached end of file table, name not found. Okay. Jump delete function epilogue. We'll return at this point. Be an early return, I guess. All right. Otherwise, we'll have next name, which will add 16 to DI. And jump to check next name. Okay. We'll go on to compare. We'll start off by pushing DI to save. Let's just copy that. Let's just copy this. This will be check next name. It'd be kind of like this. Let's call this return. I'll use a dot notation. Return, which will return. Let's just have a singular return point. I'll call it check file name return. Let's just have a singular return point. So we'll check the error code. If the error code is cleared, then we found the file. So down here we'll go to found file delete, I guess, or we'll do an error. What's the overall file? Delete. Let's call it dot found file. Then we can call it the same thing and all the other functions. We'll go to dot found file. Otherwise an error occurred. Okay. Instead of this, we'll jump. Check file name return. Okay. Otherwise we'll get the next name and look again. Alright, that should be okay. I hope, I think. We could pop DI by default when we return, just to make sure. Every time we start checking the name, we push it. Let's just put it there as well. Because I think that's pretty common with the found file stuff. We want to restore it if we're pushing it. Alright, so that's for delete file. I don't know if I have to change the other ones right this moment. Looks like I do. Symbol already defined at line 530. So 530G. Have it in check file name. Yes, that's what I just did. And then delete file is okay, I think, for now. Let's change load file. Just gonna change them all and then test each one and see what breaks, and then I'll fix that. I'll check file. Okay, so I know this is confusing. I have 3 of these things open at the same time, which is very crappy, but I wanted to see also how I did, just to probably copy this code from delete file. Just this stuff, pretty much. This will be found file. This will be, I'm in save. Save function epilogue, I think is what I called it. No, this is a load function. Okay, that's fine. Load function epilogue. Still want to call things found file. So don't need that. So we handle that in there. Don't need this, don't need that. Found file, renamed to found file. So copy that. All right, rename file. Oh, I had it, there we go, right here. This will be rename function epilogue. Don't need to do this stuff anymore. Yeah, I knew this was all duplicated, that's why I wanted to do this. It'll be a bit better soon after I delete all this crap, because it's redundant. Don't need pop di in this case, but found file. But I did wait until this point in order to do this refactor. I don't know if that was smart or not, but I did wait a while. But I want to show that yes, I do go through and try to deduplicate stuff. I do like the dry principle, don't repeat yourself. I just want to get things working and bad hacky solutions first, which I think is more important. Get it working and then make it look pretty, right, after it's working. That is the goal. We're in save file. So this will be save. Function epilogue. Don't have to do that. I do need to move the save sector in for save file specifically, which is okay. Just comment all that out. So found file, we do need to get the save sector when we find it. So we need the last save sector. So last save sector for save file specifically is the file size of the previous entry in the file table added to the starting sector plus the file size in sectors. That equals the next sector we can save at. Okay. So I want to put that in under here though, outside of the other stuff. Okay. Let's call it that. The correct sector to save at. So I am going to blank this out. Okay. So save file specifically is a bit different, which is annoying, but that's all right. So the new sector, like if calculator here was free space and we wanted to save in here, we would need 8 plus 1 from the previous table entry. This would be 0 if it's free space, but we need to say this is free, we can start saving at 9. So we need to add up the starting sector and the file size from the previous file table entry when we do new file. In save file's case, if we don't find it, we're going to go to new file. Didn't find file, new file. Okay, we'll do that. Otherwise we have found file. Okay. I could set these things. Maybe I'll do that. Actually. I could fill out these variables here, like last save sector, starting sector. I could fill those out inside of this, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. We go to compare, we're pushing di. Let me do this. For save file. Okay, we'll do this. The last save sector is a byte. So we'll move ESDI. Plus 14. Starting sector. And then we'll add ESDI plus 15, file size. And then we'll move into last save sector AL. Okay. So that should be filled out for save file now, hopefully, which is what we're putting here. For the starting sector. If it's a new file and it's at the end of the file table, it'll be put there. Okay, I guess we also want to check for free space though. The correct sector to save it. This should be filled out for a completely new file, but we want to fill out free space as well. So how do we return there? Do I want to return early if it's free space? No, only if it's a save file. What if we searched for the name free space, and if that's found, we're good. We can go to new file. But if there isn't free space in the file table, we'll go and run it again for the original file name. Or well, in the other case, if the original file name isn't there, then we look for free space. If free space isn't there, we'll write to the end of the file table. But if free space is there, we want to write to that location first. If it's large enough to accommodate. Didn't find it, it's a new file. Okay, let's do this. Otherwise, check for free space in file table. I guess we'll do that. Okay. And if it finds free space, it should have gotten these things in last save sector. Free space would have 0 for the starting sector. It would have a file size, though. I want to get this stuff first, I think, actually. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. If it finds the word free space in the file table, this would return right now. So I'm going to get rid of this, actually. Let's simplify it. Call it for the word free space. And we'll go to new file regardless. Right? No, we'll go to, let's do this, free space. Otherwise, we'll go to new file. Let's make a new thing up here called free space, or down here rather. So what this is going to do is set the correct starting sector, like how we were doing, from the previous file table entry. So this is wherever the word free space is encountered, the starting sector for that file table entry for the free space needs to be the previous file table entry's starting sector plus file size to get the new correct starting sector where we can save our file. So that's what I need to get here. So grab previous file table entries, starting sector plus file size for new starting sector. Okay. So, but DI should point to the entry that free space is on, which is here. So what I can do is subtract 16 from DI. Hopefully. 16. Go to previous file table entry. Okay, and then we'll move into AL. ESDI plus 14. Starting sector. And then add ESDI plus 15. And then we'll add DI 16 again. Of course, I could also move ESDI minus 2, I think, and then minus 1. Instead of subtracting and adding 16, that might work, because it should point to here. Maybe we'll try that instead. Although it might be a bit more confusing. Of course. Move that to AL, and that to AL. Okay, and then we'll move into last save sector, AL. Okay. And then we'll reset the disk, then we'll go through this. So last save sector would be filled out here. Otherwise, it's at the end of the file table for a completely new file, and we need to get the correct one for the last entry. Would that be the same though? We might do this by default. If we do free space, this would work. But if it's not in the file table at all, when we're writing to the end of it, I think we can do this by default actually. Think. So does that make sense? If the file we're saving is not found, and we're going to be saving a new file, we're going to look for if there's any free space available, which the name would be free space. And if that's found, I mean, we'll probably go down here by default. We'll grab the starting sector from the previous entry that is not free space, added to the file size for the new starting sector, or if there's no free space found and we're saving to the end of the file table, DI should still point to, you know, in this case, editor plus 16 bytes, which would be down one. It would be like here. We should still be able to grab these last 2 bytes and add them together for the new starting sector. That should still work, so I think we're okay there. Found existing file. This doesn't really matter in this case, if we found it or not. We're just going to go for a new file. But if there is free space, we'll write at that position. That's just kind of implicit. This will write at any, I'll put at first available free space or at end of, let's change this. File table. I think we're okay. I think I just overcomplicate things, of course, which is all right. That is okay. That should be delete, rename, load and save files, changed to use the new check file name thing. It is more lines of code, but we'll remove those once we are sure that this is working. Check next name, 567, already defined, really. Include disk file ops. Is that defined in the kernel? Possibly. It is. That is why. That's why. Check next name. We'll change this to kernel check next name. We might change it to use the same one later, but then I'd have to extract from the file ops include file, I think, if I wanted it to work a little bit better. I don't know. We'll just call this kernel check next name. That's okay. And then the same thing here. Naming things is very hard. All right, is that an editor at all? I don't think it is, but I feel like I should check. No, okay. Okay, is this, did I break everything? Let's find out. Let's see if delete works. Delete calculator. Oh, it's free space. Okay, so delete's good. Rename editor. Editor with an ER. Okay, rename editor. And the edit thing. Okay. So rename works. Delete works. Let's see if loading works. I need to change how I get naming within this load file in the editor because it's very hacky. Load file error occurred at file table. That's not great. So loading files does not work. Interesting. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, so load file doesn't work. Does save file work? And this is checking at the free space location. So if I don't do anything, so we have free space right there where calculator was. So let's see if we can save a new file there first. Nope. Interesting. So editor is kind of broken. ESDI +4. Now that's interesting. Ah, we're expecting it to be over there. Yes, that is not true. Okay. Yes, when we're loading a file, Yes, di would point to the start of the file table, which load file was not expecting. Load file said di was supposed to be at the extension when it returned. No. No, this needs to be file type or file extension plus 10, plus 11, and plus 12. And then the starting sector is at 14. The number of sectors is the file size. That's at 15. That is probably why it failed, I would hope. We might have to reset the disk before we save. Maybe we have to do that by default anyway. I don't know. Let's just do that anyway. Of course, this -2 and -1 might not be working. That could also be true. I would assume it is, but it might not be. Calculator's free space. Let's try to load a file again. That works. All right, that's always good. Let's try to save. That should return. But it also might not have file name length. Well, it doesn't though. Compare, file name length. That might not be set up when we're saving. That's probably why. We don't have CX for file name length set up. That might be the issue. So in this one we do, free space at 10. But right now I won't worry about it. File name length. So it needs a number to check for. CX could be whatever. It could be garbage. So I don't know if that's the whole reason, but that might be part of the reason why it was failing there. But for some reason it hangs up here. We go to call check file name. If I put the code here for debugging, it returns a T right here. Like right before the return, I know I reached this point. But for some reason the return is not reaching this point right after we call it. I don't know why. That's a bit weird. So this should never happen, right? It should never go to compare. It should compare to 0. It should not find anything. That should be true. So it goes to jump, check file name, return. That is true. It pops DI. I'm assuming because we never pushed DI to begin with. In this scenario, we're not pushing DI. We're just popping it. It never reached a name to compare to. So if we're popping DI, return also pops implicitly to get an address. But that's going to be all messed up and wacky because this DI would have popped whatever the address was. So this DI would have the address. That's not good. So how can we fix that? Maybe move the push outside of compare? We might have to. Put it there. That way if it never reaches compare, hopefully that doesn't, pushing shouldn't mess with the 0 flag, right? I hope not. Let's put it, just to make more conceptual sense, let's put it there. Just in case it messes with the 0 flag. It shouldn't, but whatever. We'll compare. If it's true, we'll compare. Pop, add, check next name. We're going to push it again. Okay. Otherwise, if that never happens and we go to return, we're going to pop it because we pushed it. Okay. I think that was the issue. I'm hoping that's the issue. I don't know for sure. I kind of want to check the other stuff works too, but I'll do that after. If this works. So testing 1, 2, 3. Nope. Does not return. To me, that doesn't make sense. Does the other stuff still work? Nope. That was not the right thing to do. Don't do that. Note to self. It works under compare, but not otherwise for some reason. Okay, I've been going for over 2 hours. I'm going to figure out why in this latest session at least. I'm going to figure out why this is broken. I'll be back. Sorry about this, but crap happens, you know. Debugging doesn't make sense. Okay, I found the issue. I mean, I believe I labeled it earlier, but didn't fully fix it. But this was actually a very small fix. First, I'm going to show that, again, right now, it does work. So let's say we delete testing 1, 2, 3, right? Delete is working, rename's working because editor is renamed to edit, but I can rename that again just to show you that editor is working. So we'll rename and delete work. So we need to check if loading and saving works. Let's load. Okay, loading works. So create a new file. Testing 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, look, saving goes back. It's not in an infinite loop. And we go testing 5, 6, 7. If we go to save a new file, whatever, and it's like blah blah 12, then it's at the end of the file table. So yes, it is working now. So how did I get saving working? Why am I so dumb? I don't know. I just am. So we were popping what was essentially the address we wanted to return to. So this was garbage and it returned to some random location and it didn't work. So, well, not random, but you know, it wasn't working. So my fix was to add a push di right here in case a name is not found and we reach the end of the file table. Or we reach some empty space where free space is. This also works. Then I'm just adding a push di to go along with this pop di. Simple. So I'm going to put in maybe hacky edit, add push di to fix bugs. So we didn't really have to change anything with saving. I just had to add a push di there to make sure that it had a subsequent pop di and that the address was correctly popped off in the return at the end of check file name, so it would return correctly to this point. Okay. Also, I'm not doing found file. I'm going to change it later, but I changed the .found file label here to new file because we're not, I just, you know, commented it out because we're not doing anything with it right now. We will later, of course, but now I'm not. So that fixed it. Okay, so delete, rename, saving, and loading now works. So the only thing I'm going to do to end this is to, oh, doesn't that feel good? Just delete all this dead code that we're not using. It's commented out. You know, people at my work, still sometimes they like to leave commented out code for some reason because we don't use a proper versioning control system like Git. So sometimes they want to know previous stuff that happened. They leave comments everywhere. And something that's like 1,000 lines or more of code, or a couple thousand or 10,000 lines of code. And it's just like, it makes it harder to read. It's crap. We shouldn't do that. But anyway. All right, I think originally this file was like 540 some odd lines before I'm doing all this. So I'm going to keep that because we'll do that later. 540 something lines, but after deleting that, we're under 500 lines. So it actually was simplified in the end. We did shrink the size of the file. With a one-line change, we got saving working. Man, that makes me mad. So we have a decent functioning file system now. Decent. We can rename, we can do CRUD, right? We can update technically by renaming. Also, we need to put in updating for save file in case we save over an existing file. I do need to put that in. That is on the list. We have put everything into an overall file ops.inc file, and we can delete, rename, and save and load. So kind of CRUD app like. But yeah, we got that working finally. It only took me like 3 or 4 hours that I'll edit out of the video. But anyway, I could maybe fix when we load files where it puts the space at the start of the line for new lines. I might fix new lines on the next one for something smaller. I could make a print string text mode file, which works like print character text mode, not using any interrupts, but just, you know, prints to the screen and moves the cursor and everything without using interrupts. So I might do that. I might actually make a calculator, because I know we haven't yet, but I might make a calculator with like a small parser or like a simulated stack or whatever, so that you can type in stuff like, I'll either make it so you type like plus 10 to enter and it'll put 12, or well, that's not a command, so that's going to fail. Or I'll make something like, have it work with like 10 plus, can't type, parentheses, 5 divided by 10 or something, you know, plus 7, you know, some arbitrary nesting. Just like a basic calculator that works with that stuff. Maybe I'll make the calculator app with a basic parser or some simulated stack where I'm pushing things prefix or infix notation. I don't know. But it's either those things or maybe we get ready to get rid of interrupts and loading files or in printing or everything. If we get rid of all interrupts, and that might include writing a keyboard driver and other nonsense, then we can move the 32-bit mode and I can change to a better graphics implementation like using Visa BIOS extensions, get a higher resolution than this tiny window, and get actual graphics mode. That would also involve changing our print routines and everything, our print functions to work with the new graphics mode instead of text mode and other things. So maybe I'll do that. And then we'll go on from there. I might make a custom font, might make games, rewrite everything to use 32-bit code instead of real mode code, you know, and do other things, memory allocation, do fancy things, work on programming languages, write in C. We'll see. So that's what I have planned. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. This one was a lot of debugging. Sorry if that's boring, or I made it boring through editing, but it's life. So yeah. If I end up doing other things, I apologize. That's just how my somewhat ADD, addled brain likes to do. Go off on tangents and be like, oh, I want to fix this. Let's make this other thing wait for 5 years. But hopefully that won't happen. We'll see. That's what I plan on doing. So thanks for watching. Do appreciate it. I really do. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.